Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate everybody allowing us the opportunity to recognize some of the officers of the Vergennes Police Department, some of their noteworthy accomplishments. We have a couple of things on the agenda tonight, one of which is we are welcoming Regine LaFlèche as the newest full-time Vergennes police officer. I believe tonight we're making Vergennes Police Department history with the swearing-in of Regine LaFlèche. Officer LaFlèche has been a part-time officer for the Vergennes Police Department since April of 2005. He took a short vacation from us and he came back, and he's been working, was inactive with us, and then he came back in October of 2009. From what I understand from Officer LaFlèche and other people, that Regine's always had it in his heart that he wanted to be a police officer. Well, tonight we're going to give him that opportunity to become a full-time member of the Vergennes Police Department. His father, Regine LaFlèche Sr., which I assume this is gentleman right here,
Right.
was a part-time officer for the Vergennes Police Department during the period from sometime in the year of 1965 to 1971, and from 1971 to 1981 he was a part-time game warden.
Plus the deputy sheriff.
A deputy sheriff for not only Bob McKnight, who was the game warden here in Addison County at the time, but also for the Addison County Sheriff's Department. So it's with great pride and pleasure that I welcome Officer LaFlèche to the ranks of the Vergennes Police Department, and we look forward to his continued success. Come on up here, Officer LaFlèche. If I could, I'd like to have you raise your right hand and repeat after Mel.
I, Regine LaFlèche,
I, Regine LaFlèche,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to uphold the oath of a police officer
to uphold the oath of a police officer
for the city of Vergennes,
for the city of Vergennes,
to preserve the peace,
to preserve the peace,
protect the public,
protect the public,
and enforce the laws of the state of Vermont.
and enforce the laws of the state of Vermont.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My administrative assistant here tonight. What's your name?
Nick LaFlèche.
Nick LaFlèche. Okay, Nick, so you're a junior officer in training tonight. How's that? Huh? Okay. Now, I'd also like to recognize somebody else who's been instrumental in the beginning of our, I want to call it our new Vergennes Police Department. This lady has been a servant of the city of Vergennes for a long time resident here. She's probably worn a number of hats. Doing community service for the city of Vergennes, and without her guidance and direction, we probably wouldn't have enjoyed the success that we've enjoyed. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to welcome Christine Collette to come up here, and we have a little certificate of appreciation for her. So I'd like to read this out. This is Vergennes Police Department Certificate of Appreciation to Christine Collette, Alderman. The Certificate of Appreciation is presented to Christine Collette for the honorable and faithful service you have provided to the City of Vergennes and the Vergennes Police Department during your tenure as a Vergennes City Council member. In particular, your steadfast desire to provide a professional police department and police services to constituents and to ensure the core values of law enforcement were adhered to by all of its officers have resulted in a professional police agency that you, the City Council of Vergennes, and the citizens of Vergennes are proud of. We wish to thank you for all your diligence, hard work, and leadership you've provided throughout your years as a City Council member. Even though we're sad to see you leave your position or have left your position, we wish you the best in any new endeavor you pursue. Your dedication and concern for your community are a tribute to yourself and your family, and has made the City of Vergennes a better place to live and work. God bless, and best wishes from all of us. All right, next person I'd like to recognize tonight. This is the second time he's won this award. I'd like to ask Officer Newton to come up, please. Every year, the Vergennes Police Department recognizes an officer who provides exemplary service, motor vehicle enforcement, and that seems to be Officer Newton's specialty. I'm sure some of you, or many of you, have seen the blue light shining at night, just to let you know we're still out there and remind people to slow down. Well, this is the Exceptional Duty Award, awarded for a highly credible accomplishment to duty or service to the public. It's awarded to Officer Brent Newton. This exceptional duty award is presented to Officer Brent H. Newton of the Vergennes Police Department for superior dedication to and exemplary performance of traffic enforcement during the year of 2010. During the year of 2010, Officer Newton was responsible for arresting 15 motor vehicle operators for operating under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs, for conducting 372 traffic stops, during which he wrote 333 tickets for various motor vehicle offenses. It is a well-known fact that aggressive motor vehicle enforcement drastically reduces the number of accidents that occur and reduces the subsequent number of injuries that are a result of them. Such efforts also serve as a deterrent to criminal activity. Therefore, they directly contribute to the overall safety of the city of Vergennes and the state of Vermont. Officer Newton's superlative performance is a tribute to himself, the Vergennes Police Department, and the city of Vergennes. Brent? The next officer I'd like to invite up is Sir Robert of Worley. Come on up here, Officer Worley. Okay, Robert Worley. Now, he had a kind of puzzled look on his face, and Bob always downplays everything he does. He's a very humble person. That's why we love the guy. And he's also somebody about the same age group as I am, so you know that makes me feel a little bit better too. But Officer Worley is a very gifted individual. He's a man of many talents, and he's also an officer that can react under some pretty strenuous conditions. And Officer Worley is being awarded the Life-Saving Award tonight for alert action in the saving of a life. The Vergennes Police Department presents this Life-Saving Award to Officer Robert Worley of the Vergennes Police Department for his meritorious service and life-saving efforts on the 25th of May, 2011 in the town of Leicester, Vermont. Officer Worley, who upon seeing a man laying on the ground on the side of the road, stopped and rendered medical assistance, which Brandon Rescue Squad personnel attribute to potentially saving the man's life. Officer Worley recognized the efforts of a passerby were incorrect and immediately repositioned the man and cleared his airway, buying valuable time and saving the man's life. Officer Worley's outstanding actions are a tribute to himself, the Vergennes Police Department, and the law enforcement community of Vermont. Thank you, Officer Worley. Next officer I'd like to call up is Officer Jason Allett.
Save your applause.
Vergennes Police Department would like to recognize Officer Jason Allett, presenting him the Meritorious Service Award. The Vergennes Police Department presents his Meritorious Service Award to Officer Jason Allett of the Vergennes Police Department for his outstanding leadership and initiative on the 9th of April 2011, when during a potentially dangerous domestic dispute, he called the male involved by phone, who was reported to be extremely irate and threatening to grab a weapon and ammunition. Officer Allett spoke with the male by cell phone, had the wherewithal to do that, and convinced the male to come out of his residence without further incident. Officer Allett's actions significantly helped defuse the situation and bring it to a peaceful resolution. Officer Allett's efforts are a tribute to himself, the Vergennes Police Department, and the law enforcement community of the state of Vermont. Officer Allett. And finally, if I'd like to call my sergeant up, Sergeant Patrick Greensley. Thanks, partner. Okay, the Vergennes Police Department would like to recognize Sergeant Patrick Greensley. He's being presented a Meritorious Service Award for a highly unusual accomplishment preventing injury or death to a number of third parties. Vergennes Police Department presents his Meritorious Service Award to Sergeant Patrick Greensley of the Vergennes Police Department for his outstanding leadership and initiative on the evening of the 3rd of June, 2011, when his response to Northland Job Corps Academy with another officer of the Vergennes Police Department, Officer Allett. They were confronted with large groups of students roaming the school grounds in an agitated state and in some cases fighting. Sergeant Greensley quickly responded and took control of the situation, ordering the students back to their dorms and directing Northland Job Corps staff to take control of their students. His assessment of the situation and immediate response to a volatile situation averted a much more serious incident from occurring. Sergeant Greensley's actions and leadership are a tribute to himself, the Vergennes Police Department, and the law enforcement community of the state of Vermont. Thank you, Sergeant Greensley. myself blessed to have guys like this working for me. All the training we do throughout the year, all the hours they put in, enables these guys to keep themselves safe, keep other people safe, and bring things to a peaceful resolution. That's the bottom line for us. That's what we want to do. Taking Officer Ouellette, he had the thought process to get on the phone and call on his way to the situation. When something goes down here and our officers are in the middle of something, these guys work together like family. They all converge, they all help each other out, and you never, ever, ever hear these guys complain about the hours or what job they've been assigned or anything else. That tells me that we've got a great department. That tells me that I've got the guys working for me that Vergennes Police Department should have. And I will stack my guys up against anybody. My guys are the best that there are. Thank you very much, fellas. Thanks, folks. Thanks for giving us the opportunity. And thank you, families, for everything that you do. Thanks for the time you allow us to have with them. I know it's not easiest to be a family member of a police officer, but you can be very proud of the guys. Thank you. All right, fellas, that's it.
We are all set. We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we've already jumped through some of the stuff on the agenda, had it before we started, so we're gonna go right to the warrants. They've been passed around. I take it everybody does anybody have any question on the warrants? Peter, that, I guess, if they don't, you can hand that right to Joan, please. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask for approval of minutes in the following manner. I'd ask for the minutes for the two meetings, the budget workshop and the council meeting on June 7th.
Michael?
Yes.
The council meeting, June 7th, I'm listed as attending. I was not at that meeting.
Okay, that'll be a correction. Can I have a motion on that?
I make the motion.
Ziggy made the motion and Lowell made a second. And we'll note that Joe was not in attendance that one. Any other omissions, corrections, or errors? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now I'd ask for a motion on the minutes for June 14th, a budget workshop.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Lowell made the motion, Randy seconded. Open for corrections, omissions, or errors? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Budget review.
Mike, I'll hold my review, because until
Get
it
down to the
actually
bottom
relates
part?
to the new budget, so.
Sure. Okay. We will sit on that. Committee reports, anybody got anything they want to talk about?
I probably should announce the junior fishing derby has been canceled this year because of safety concerns.
We have asked Michelle Eastman to prepare a written statement, something short and sweet, to go on the website. Could you prod that along a little bit,
Sure.
please? Appreciate that. Sooner we'd like to get it out. Part of the discussion Michelle explained was that the grounds are so badly silted up down there that it's just to have it dried out and safe. Too much, they're not gonna have the docks in by that time, maybe, it's hard to say, but it's a real mess,
I
so,
guess it was also a state's concern about having
yeah,
such activities. They said that the LCI was allowed to go on, but even that was kind of
iffy,
touch and go.
so, appreciate any help you can give us on that, we'll get that done. Any latest on Activities Committee, any more changes? or-
There's nothing to report right now. No,
Okay.
A little bit of kind of preliminary activity, but nothing that need to be part of the council.
Excellent, excellent, okay. Jake?
Talking about the docks, in fact, I had a conversation with your brother. He was wondering where he's been. He said he was working 7 hours weed whacking and trying to pick up some of the debris on the other side. And he didn't know if maybe we could talk to Job Corps and see if we could get them to come and help to clean up.
Yeah, we can, actually, Tony, they've actually done a little bit of cleanup on, get closer to the falls area,
Yeah.
and they're gonna help us out with the cleanup around the Settlers Park area as well, but I can send an email to Tony tomorrow about, getting a hand in that regard for sure. Yeah.
I know we don't have a wood chipping plant around here, but McNeil's making out big ways. They're getting tons and tons of this free firewood. They're just having to chip it up. So it's, there is some small benefit out of this whole mess that's going on, so. Okay, thank you. Randy?
As you can see, there was minutes from a May meeting, which I did report on, and didn't have the minutes for, about farmer's market. It was, I can't think of the name of the right now. Drawing a blank. It's online services
Yeah.
at farmersmarket.com or yourfarmersmarket.com. They are actually having people taking and participating in that program. We'll see how it works. It's a year-round thing, so they can be getting hits in the fall. They also have the advertising done. Apparently, I didn't get that to you, Mel. They had a picture, they had a sample of the advertising.
Yeah, I sent an email to somebody,
you send it to me?
because I remember seeing that ad, because I just wanted to make sure that the bill, some kind of a bill made
You
it
sent,
back
you
to
sent,
us.
you sent it, you sent it to me,
Oh,
but
okay.
I wanted a copy of the ad in the packet.
Oh,
so
okay.
There's an ad that's gonna be placed relatively quickly for the farmer's market, probably over the next few months. This ad will run out, and they wanna thank you for helping out with the ad, the council.
Excellent.
Yes, that's it.
We're actually gonna have a new committee. Go ahead, Peter, go ahead, I'll let you go first.
Well,
Is it-
speaking on new committees, I think I mentioned to you, Mike, that Diane had approached me, Diane Lampert approached me
She had?
about the energy committee
Mhm.
situation, and I've talked with her a little bit about that. I wasn't sure whether it was a council committee or whether it was some combination. That was my first question.
It was something that we tried to establish to get interest within the city of Vergennes. Some of the towns go around, but it's more of an independent group. It's not necessarily part of a council. So it's just to get the message out to the citizens or the public that there are ways you can save money by doing certain things with energy.
Right.
Or unplugging something that sets plugged in for 6 months and doesn't get used.
Okay,
So-
so it's not directly related to this at the moment, although it might be down the road?
We would like a council member active in that. I would like to, this is a personal thing, okay? I would like to see a council member involved in that so that
Okay,
we can try to be part of a solution to global warming.
okay, I'd be willing to take that on and I'll explore it.
It doesn't,
Okay.
more than you said you would.
Okay.
Okay, great, excellent. And
Do we still have those meters we ordered,
there's
where are
still, as far as I know, there's still, I don't know, we still have one at City Hall, Joan?
We've never had one at
Okay,
City Hall.
then they're at
Bixby.
they're at the Bixby.
they?
There's,
Bixby.
yeah, they're supposed to be. I haven't checked.
That's the test, if somebody has concerns that their refrigerator's using too much electricity or
Yeah.
something. and-
What it is it's a device you plug in an outlet. You plug this unit that you want to test in, and it'll tell you what the current is that's drawing. So,
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I'll follow up with that.
Peter and I had a brief discussion before the meeting, based on a conversation I had yesterday with Ziggy about salaries and whatnot, and talking to Mel a little bit. We haven't evaluated our salaried personnel for a while. I don't know when the last time it was done. So I've asked Peter to put together a committee, whatever he feels fit. He can do it by himself. Peter has some experiences in human resources, so he's very qualified to go out and collect the information, but we're not going to be able to probably do it within a short period of time. It's going to take a little bit. So he's going to go out and do some evaluations on salaries for.
Yeah, I'd like to work with Peter
Sure.
in that
Yeah.
in that regard.
Yeah, sure. Is there anybody else in the council that has an interest, or Lana? Lowell? Okay. Just if you want to talk to Peter after and join the crowd, or join the team, by all means, please work that out. And thank you for taking that on, Peter. There is no public here for comment. Old business. We thought we were going to see our friend.
Yeah, I thought that Alex would be
Alex?
here too, but you know, she does have 3 little, what she calls howler monkeys. That's what she calls her kids. So anyway, she obviously is not here. So, but anyway, I will report that last night at the Planning Commission meeting, by consensus, the Planning Commission would prefer that that seat not be filled at this time. They're about 60% of the way through the zoning rewrite, and are a little bit behind schedule, not terribly behind schedule, but based on the grant, their work of completing a draft rewrite, if you will, it isn't really a total rewrite. But anyway, primarily the new zoning districts, historic neighborhood, Northern Gateway, and the standards for the central business district, and a lot of other related matters to bring the regulations in compliance with the plan. The grant that we have requires that a draft be done and presented to the public no later than November 8th. Their public hearing doesn't have to be held on November 8th, but their document for the public hearing has to be completed by November 8th. So they just feel that they'd like to move forward with the 6 remaining members. They actually checked one another's calendars over the summer to make sure that they're, because obviously when you have 6 people, you need 4 out of 6. And so last night they also compared calendars to make sure that there wouldn't be any quorum problems over the summer. So that's their recommendation, is that you table filling that seat until after they have had their public hearing and forwarded the document to the city council.
Does that need a motion?
I was going to ask that question. Do we need
I don't think you need to do anything.
I guess we'll take that under advisement and abide by their wishes. So just do that. Okay, we're going to jump right into item number 8, City Manager's Report.
Yeah, I just want to report on a few things. Obviously, the pool opened up last Saturday officially to the public. The pool was open the last couple of weeks of the school season, and then of course it's open for people on the swim team for the last couple of weeks. So obviously, the registration of swim team folks, Joan and I went to the first registration in May, and Linda and I went to 2 subsequent registration of swim team. And as crazy as 114 swimmers is, they actually have 117 this year. So the team has grown by 3. And so obviously, there's a lot of work involved with getting all these kids registered and get the money in the till, and all of the passes are there. And of course, on top of that, it's lessons sign up as well. So, from a handling of all those fees, there's this period of time of, it does end, Joan, but there's about a 3-week period of time that we kind of feel like that's all we do is kind of handle and balance swim team money, and then once it's all swim team and lessons money, and then once it's there, then it's just the daily visits of Roland coming with yesterday's till, and that has to get thrown in the till. We ended up with having to only hire 1 new employee at the pool. Kelsey Dobson is our new addition. Most everybody that worked there last year came back to work. Roland has officially announced that this is his last season as director at the pool. So obviously that's a slot that needs to be filled, or at least figure out how his duties are going to be replaced somehow. And
I may be
So,
looking for a part-time job.
Mike, you can certainly apply.
So is that job just gonna be listed, just a regular job listing, or how are you gonna handle
Well,
that?
Joe, one of the things, there's a couple of models that we're considering. One is that there really are a couple of senior assistant directors, if you will, and maybe one of those would step up to have a little bit more supervisory role. However, Roland's responsibilities relative to the mechanical equipment down there, that might be able to be fulfilled by somebody who is schooled in that. And I actually, have an idea of someone, and he and I haven't been able to connect other than exchanging voicemail. So we're not really sure, what model we want to.
So this is the person that's currently employed,
That's
like, in the
correct.
Public Works Department? or
That's
anything like
correct.
that? Okay.
Yeah, this is somebody that actually does this as an independent contractor, and they might be willing to assist us in this regard. So it's just something that we're going to try to pursue. But we can go one way or the other. It could be an actual pool director that has those skills. I mean, it's obviously. It's a combination of managing people, but also understanding and maintaining that equipment. The Public Works crew did get involved, obviously, with opening up the pool, and they'll be involved with closing the pool. So we certainly have got more people learning about that. But really, it's the backwashes and the equipment maintenance and those types of things that really need to be clearly taken care of. So.
One of the things they did this year, they pumped it, they used the new reel truck, and they were able to suck it down a lot lower than they have ever had, so it went a lot smoother with one of the new fire trucks you guys bought.
So the pool, if you've been down there, it's crazy. It's unbelievable how many kids are down there. It's great when the weather's like this. So
When you say 117, those are not all Vergennes residents, right?
no,
They're all over.
That's just a swim team.
That's
Just, I know, and that's the
Right.
point I'm trying to
Oh,
make
yeah.
is, this is not just only Vergennes
Yeah,
area, it's surrounding towns.
there's members. There's Heinsberg, Charlotte, Moncton. Yeah, they're from all over. It's
good.
I don't know if we have the biggest team, but it's maybe Essex has quite a program up there, but it's got to be close. So they talk about when Essex swims against Vergennes, you got over 200 kids in a meet. I guess it's like herding cats.
It's like the seventh biggest in the league.
Is
There's
that-
a lot, all the Chittenden County teams are bigger, just for the record.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Town of Essex team, the Knights are bigger.
Burlington Country Club's always
Burlington
been
Country
big,
Club is bigger, the Rackets Edge is bigger.
Yeah.
So it seems like a lot of kids.
Yeah.
It's a big deal
Right.
at swim league. Sorry to interrupt, but.
No, thank you for the input.
The other things, just let you all know, one of the things that we're getting closer to June 30 here, and I've been really focusing on grant reimbursements. We're juggling a lot of projects, to be honest with you. Even though the senior housing project is money that's going to flow through our accounts, and that project is started, there hasn't been any financial activity associated with City Hall yet, but there has been financial activity reimbursements involving the John Graham Shelter already. We're still involved, obviously, with the train station, which I'm pretty sure is going to be moved before snow flies. I'm pretty
Not
sure.
this year.
But anyway,
I can almost guarantee it.
we're still processing that grant. The Riverwalk project has commenced. You see a bill in here. You're going to see multiple bills from Aero Design, and this is a big project. It's a $400,000 project. And so we have to, from a cash flow standpoint, we have to turn these things around as quick as we possibly can and put in a request for reimbursement for the first 3 payments. And they turn that around, Joan, in a matter of 7 days or something like that. So we'll get that on that same routine as the train station. We're paying a bill tonight. I hope to get that reimbursement out by the end of the week. The streetscape project, that one there, I think I could put in a request for reimbursement because we are well beyond the 50% point, but I may just wait another couple of weeks and just put in one request and get that $75,000 back into the till. The planning grant, the $15,000 planning grant that we had, there was a mid-stage report that needed to be done, and I put all that together, percentage of tasks, and it seemed like a lot of bookkeeping for $4,500, but anyway, I got that together. So, and I think we have a number of police grants going on, and we think that those reimbursements are all in for any work that police have done through the end of May. So like I say, as we approach the end of the year, we try to get as much money back to us by June 30, but if we don't, we just book what's called a grants receivable, and then when Joan gets the check, she just has to remember to book it against a grants receivable as opposed to a normal revenue. So we think that we have all of those in place. Next item to report, I hired Chris Bearer to the Public Works Department, taking the spot that in essence was vacated by Jim Larrow when he moved up. Chris lives on Green Street. He's married to Beth Bearer. I stole another employee from Middlebury. Makes me feel pretty good. So George Merkel came from Middlebury, and Chris Bearer came from Middlebury. I feel good about that. So anyway, Chris is going to start on the 1st of July. We have been using some part-time people to fill in. We've pulled Les Champagne out of retirement to do a little part-time work. Will Ryan, who is Tim and Liz Ryan, has been working on Thursdays and Fridays to help with trimming and mowing. And Dan Courier, who's the guy that you see doing sidewalk plowing on occasion, he's done some part-time. So that's what we've been doing in the meantime to try to keep a reasonable level of staff for Jim, because as you know, this is a year when grass is growing big time, and it's tough to keep up. So anyway, that's how we've filled those holes.
I think just one comment. I think Chris Bayer would be a really good hire.
Yeah, Chris, he's. I'll tell you what, we had. The advertisement that we put out narrowed the field considerably. CDL, we're looking with some concrete skills, and there was a number of skill set that we were looking for. Had 10 applicants, all good applicants. We actually had a hard time narrowing it to 5, and when we interviewed the 5 candidates, if we had 5 positions, I'd have hired all 5 of them. I mean, it really was a pretty impressive group of people, all with jobs. That was a little weird. That somebody that all of them had jobs and just looking for what they obviously felt was a better job. So we feel good about that. Last item I just want to report is kind of some bad news, and that's really about delinquent taxes. And I haven't talked to you about taxes in a while, because we've always been reporting good news about taxes, because we only have 3 accounts that owe taxes for 2008 and 2009, and of those 3 accounts, one of them I sent a notice of tax sale out today, due absolutely for 0 communication with me. When I put a letter out that says, you need to pay by such and such a date, or you need to contact me, if you don't contact me, I don't, if that's what I say I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to do. And so that's what I did today, was mailed out a notice of tax sale on one piece of property. Relative to, and on delinquent taxes, last year we ended delinquent taxes at the end of the fiscal year with $41,000, and we were able to bring that $41,000 down to around $16,000 60 days into the year. As of today, the balance of delinquent taxes, it's either $72,000 or $76,000 total. So, it's a little concerning. Both as to where we're going to land at the end of the fiscal year, and I'm going to say more importantly, where we are at 60 days into the fiscal year. So that's a little concerning. Sewer continues to be a problem. Last year we ended the fiscal year with $31,000 worth of delinquent sewers, and keeping in mind that when we had those 31,000 in delinquent sewers, many of those delinquent bills covered the period 4 months into the ensuing year, all right? The delinquent taxes as of today, delinquent sewer as of today is about $25,000 or $26,000, and it only covers through the end of the fiscal year. So yeah, it's lower by $5,000, but if you were to strip off, you know, 2/3 of last year's bills because they're covering July, August, September, and October, you know, we're actually going in the other direction. I have 5 accounts on my desk, all of which are in the vicinity of $2,000 in delinquent sewers. That's not tolerable. And so those 5 are going to get notices of tax sale, you know, probably mailed out by the end of tomorrow. So, you know, I really don't have an option. I always send every letter that I regret having to do this, but you know, if I don't do something about somebody who has a $2,000 sewer bill, it's going to turn into 3. It's really that simple. And so I've got to, you know, force those payments. And we just can't allow them to just continue to skyrocket. So that's not really good news. I don't, you know, I don't like telling you that, and it's not the most enjoyable part of my job, but I don't have an option, you know, so. So I'm going to end on that note, Mike.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
On some of these people, are they trying? I mean, are
No.
they working out?
No.
None of them are.
The 5 that are on my desk, you know, when you owe $2,000, you haven't paid your sewer bill for probably 2.5 to 3 years. And of those 5 that are on my list, I'm quite confident that not one of them have ever responded to any of my letters.
Okay, and some of the people that owes the 76,000 total, some of them are still, they are trying?
The delinquents, actually, I sent a notice out to them in the middle of May. They're, you know, some of them are trying, but there's one account in there, Zig, that's extremely concerning. I don't mind, it's all public records. I can tell you that Briarwood is a real concern of mine. Mm-hmm. You know, the nursing home historically always paid very well. Their delinquent tax bill, Joan, I believe is $21,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a bill that has never been on our list in the past, to my knowledge,
No.
or if it was, you know, I might have missed and caught up in a couple of weeks or whatever. So that's a big one. So.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to, you know, I mean, Vergennes is in good shape, you know, I mean, from a delinquent standpoint, you know, we do well, but the problem is that when you do well, it's you really can't go backwards, you know, because if you go backwards, it comes right out of your fund balance, so.
Okay, any other questions, Mel? If not, we'll go to item number 9A, new business recycling program contracts. Mel?
Yeah, you don't think you need any motion. Remember back in May, you all pre-approved, if you will, the budget for recycling contracts. We sent those out, and the originals hopefully are making their way around the table. If you can just sign, I can't remember if your name is there or not, but if you can sign in the Vergennes section, that'd be great.
Okay.
I think some of them even already sent money, Joan, didn't they?
Yeah,
they sent money.
already paid.
And we're hiding it, because we can't do anything with the money until we get to the 1st of July.
Okay, excellent. Next one is 9B, request for reduction out-of-town sewer rates. I received a call from a lady named Nancy Menard who lives on Moncton Road, and you have a written document that she sent me, and so I'd like to open this for discussion.
Yeah, Mike, one of the things, I guess, what I would suggest that the council do is the city of Vergennes has had a so-called out-of-district sewer rate and I'm gonna say going back to 1962, as I'm assuming, or thereabouts. And the formula that is on the books, which certainly was on the books back when the sewer ordinance was passed, Joan, in 1975 or something like that, was that the out-of-district paid double operation and maintenance and no bonded debt. That was the formula. And basically what that means is that we have a sewer budget of around $600,000. We have a bonded debt of 123. So you got, I'll say roughly 1/5 of your bill is bonded debt. And so in essence, if out of district is paying double operation and maintenance and no bonded debt, they're paying should be if you're paying 4/5, then double bonded debt would be, you'd be paying 8/5 would be my math. All right, so so we're charging a little more than 50% more than in district. What I would like to do, I think that I can tell you that clearly it is common practice to have out-of-district rates that are higher than district rates. And part of the reason is that, there are people who work for the property taxpayers, Joan, myself, Public Works Department, and our wages are being paid by property taxes. And so when you have somebody that's outside the district, they're not paying us any property taxes, and so one of the reasons why they pay an out-of-district charge of 150% is to, in essence, try to cover a portion of general fund. Now, we actually do a transfer of $70,000 from the sewer fund over the general fund to try to make the general fund whole. I'm not so sure that it's absolutely made whole. But one of the things that we certainly do not want to be doing is gouging out-of-district connections. And I don't, as I mentioned to you, Joan and I came to work here in the 70s. The formula that was adopted was something that we were given, and that's what we have always used. And I think that it's a good idea to take a look at that formula, and for us to do a little research with other municipalities that have wastewater and have out-of-district wastewater, and come back to you and show whether or not we're out of line. And obviously, if we, and also Zig and I were talking about this a little bit before the meeting started. She was wondering about how many out-of-district connections there are, and that's what I'd like to do for the board, is really tell you very specifically the list of out-of-district connections, how much money we derive from those out-of-districts, and then obviously if there's any change in the rate, it affects the bottom line. But again, I want to provide that information to you and give you some information from other municipalities. So, I'll try to do this within the next. It's not a real priority to me. I'll be very honest with you. But I will try to do this within the next 2 or 3 months. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if the council is anxious to do some kind of a study and get back to Mrs. Menard in a more timely basis, I'm happy to do that. But it really, it's not going to take a mountain of work. But I just have other things to do that would have more priority. So if it's okay, if I've been given 3 months to get back to you on this, that would be great.
How much higher, ballpark is the out-of-district rate? Are we gonna do anything for this? In the meantime, we're just gonna leave it as it is, I presume, is what you're recommending.
Well, let me say this, Joe. Why don't we're gonna be doing a quarterly billing on the 15th of July, okay? And that's gonna cover July, August, and September. So if I would commit to the board to get you information in advance of a possible change for the October 15th billing. So, we could tell Mrs. Menard that, I mean, I don't mind writing Mrs. Menard and tell her that the rates are gonna stay the same in July, but I would commit that the city council would review those out-of-district rates for a possible change. I'm not gonna lead her down any path for the second quarter billing. And that would, because I know I'm not, we wouldn't change billing in the middle of a billing period, I don't think. So, and I know I don't have time to deal with this. You aren't even gonna meet before, before Joan does the billing. But I'm happy to write her a letter and commit to that.
Yes, no? Yes? 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 Yes?
I don't think I answered your question, Joe. Basically, if, like I say, Joan runs the calculations, so I really am not, I don't do billing, I deal with delinquents. Joan does billing, but let me, we should look at it, Joan, because really, if the formula is double O&M, all right, that's something that really should be calculated every year anyway. All right, so one of the things that we should do is we should take a look at it
Well,
and
it's
just.
always been, like with the bonded debt.
Right, but we should just check that
should be
formula, because what
calculated.
happens is if the bonded debt stays at 123 and the budget goes from 550 to 600, then the bonded debt portion becomes a smaller percentage, which
Yeah.
actually inflates her bill.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think that she actually wants me looking at this,
Yeah.
because
Right,
it,
that's low.
under the formula, it actually makes her bill go up. So
Yeah.
she doesn't want me doing this math, all right?
Otherwise, we need to go through a sewer ordinance change,
Right.
to change the formula the way that it's calculated.
Now, does that have to be,
It can be-
does that have to be done by the voters, approved by the
No,
voters?
no, you set rates, you set rates.
Oh, I didn't know if it was one of those things the voters had to.
No, no.
But an ordinance change takes longer than just
Hmm?
making a motion to set the rate,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
we have
number of
done, like
days.
to increase the rate.
We don't need a motion to this, everybody went around and they're in favor of you
Okay.
going and doing that.
Okay.
And you said you'd commit to try to have it done by
Before the
October.
October 15th billing.
So it's, everybody is in favor of that, so.
In terms of your earlier discussion, though, I think the fact that this individual made the effort to come to you before we were going to her saying you got a problem. I mean, I think that's a very excellent approach to it, and shows a lot of responsibility on her part to deal with it that way.
Well, she's been struggling financially with this bill, and we worked on agreement. I told her, I said, send us in a monthly payment, we'll just apply it to your account, and that way it won't hit you so hard when it comes, and that's what she's been doing every month.
Yeah, she's ahead, actually.
Yeah, she's got a credit right now. She sends me a monthly payment because we used to do a 6-month billing. So when it came, and the out-of-district people, it was a lot higher than our $175 bill. So that's what she's been doing to maintain right now.
Excellent.
So, and you'll follow up with a letter
Yep.
to her saying that, yeah, that's good. Okay, excellent. Item number C, FY 2012 wage adjustments, adopt 2012 city budget and tax rate.
Yeah, before I talk about the wage adjustment piece, Mike, I just want to let you know that at the end of my day, I noticed that we didn't put a budget report in with your packet, and I apologize for that. To be honest with you, I went golfing Friday afternoon, and Joan was left with dealing with the agendas, and Leslie had to leave early, and so the bills got put together, but no budget report got put
There
together.
goes your 3%.
That's the way it goes. All right, well, maybe next year.
You get it.
So anyway, so what I did is I actually, remember at the last meeting, I did this report here, which helps me project year-end fund balance. So I actually ran myself a budget report, plugged in the numbers, and if the fiscal year ended today and we didn't have any purchases and we didn't have to pay for June's electric bill and June's telephone bill, we would end the year with $202,000. All right. Well, we're not going to end the year with $202,000. We have one more payroll, that needs to go through here, and we're going to need to pay electric bills and whatever bills that aren't in this packet. And there's a few. One of the things that we will likely do is I'll have to talk to Joan about this, but I'm not gonna be here. Leslie will be back. What we want to do is next week try to process one more set of warrants for bills that really cover the current fiscal year, process them and set them aside, set the bills and the checks aside to await your signature for the final FY11 warrant. And then when you have your meeting in July, in essence in July, you're going to end up with two sets of warrants. You're going to have one set that pays for bills that needed to be paid by June 30. The checks won't go anywhere. Joan will have the checks, but at least that warrant will be set, and then we'll close out the year, and then we'll pay bills at the end of July. Some of which actually will have to be coded back to the previous year, but we can't backdate checks and anything like that. So that's how we're going to do it. So the point is, at the last meeting, I mentioned to you that with the caveat that our delinquent taxes aren't going to increase 60 days into the year, I still feel very confident that we have a fund balance of not only $154,000, but probably in excess of $154,000. So, I feel that we're still in good shape. And the original budget that I put forth to you called for taking $100,000 from our fund balance towards our budget and to keep the tax rate. There was two changes that you made in the budget during the process. One was because I told you that we did reduce some assessments through grievance, and so the 60.07 cents didn't gain quite as much as what we had originally thought. So that cost $1,000 or $2,000. Then of course the other change that we made was relative to the recalculation of the rescue squad allocation, given the fact that they are moving from $4 per capita in 2011 to $5 per capita in 2005. We're on a fiscal year. The rest of the towns are on a calendar year. So anyway, we made that change. So that increased our need from our fund balance from $100,000 to $103,000. That's where we left at the last meeting. The other thing that the board had asked me to do was to run some I think it was you, Lowell, that wanted me to actually run some calculations and not just wing it like I usually do, but actually research it. And I actually researched it, and the numbers were a little better than what I thought. I think before, when I was talking to you, I felt that a 2%, actually what it was my estimate of the general fund payroll. I think I said that it was around $720,000, and the number is actually $640. And the reason is that in my head I had the Bixby employees as if they were general fund employees. I consciously deducted the sewer employees, but I did not consciously deduct the Bixby. So there's only $640,000 worth of so-called general fund employees that would be subject to any kind of a wage increase. And so when I ran those numbers along with Social Security and retirement, I actually opted not to spend any time trying to calculate the impact of workers' compensation, and that's because workers' compensation has a ton of other variables. I mean, it's not just about wages. It's about experience modification, and it can get complicated. So it's not. You can calculate Social Security and you can calculate retirement. You can't calculate workers' compensation. In part, our workers' compensation is done where I actually have to estimate payroll, and then there's an audit, and I either get a check or I get a bill. And then if your experience modification changes the following year, then the workers' comp is either going to go up or going to go down. So I can't predict it at this point, and won't know. Actually, I can only predict 6 months of the fiscal year because our workers' compensation is on a calendar year. So I didn't even bring that into the equation. Does a wage increase affect workers' compensation? The answer is yes. All right, but there's so many other variables going on there. It might, even though you might think that it's going to cost more, at the end of the day, if our experience mod goes down, our bill goes down, and so there really is there ends up being a positive impact when we finally get that bill. So my calculations in here were only about pulling those employees that would be have the potential for a wage increase. Of that, I've created a 2% column and I created a 3% column.
Go ahead.
The back taxes that we're trying to collect, how does that affect all of these budgets that we're working on?
Well, I'll give you what is the best scenario. As I mentioned to you, last year we finished the year with about $41,000 worth of delinquents, but I collected all but $16,000 of it 60 days into the year, and you get to count the collections within that 60 days, all right?
Okay.
So because there was $16,000 on the books, I'm not allowed to count that as a receivable. It actually affects your fund balance, all right? Now let's say that the 72,000, I'm only able to bring that down to $32,000, all right, as opposed to 16. So if you're what's called deferred revenues, all right, basically taxes that did not get collected within the first 60 days of the fiscal year, you can't count it, all right? So what happens is that from an accounting standpoint, under a modified accrual basis of accounting, of which we use, that actually gets, we get to count on June 30, the money that we collected 60 days in. But if you fall short, then we would lose 16,000 of that 154. So let's say let's say that we thought we were going to end the year with $154,000. If our delinquent taxes go 60 days in, goes from 16 to 32, that $154,000 is reduced by $16,000. Now, worst case scenario, you know, I mean, worst case scenario, you know, I can write a ton of letters, and you know, I will tell you that you know, that level is really too high. And you know, lots of towns you can go delinquent 2 years before they do anything. I don't believe in that policy. You know, I think that I have to keep aggressive, I mean, I've never put somebody up for tax sale like in September because they didn't pay their prior year. I mean, typically we go more than that, but I don't typically have $70,000 in delinquents.
I was just wondering how that would affect.
And the point is, even if, you know, let's say that I end up saying, listen, you've got to pay your taxes by August 30th. If they don't, the damage is done, okay? It really, if they don't pay, it doesn't matter that I had a tax sale scheduled for the 15th of September. If it's only about the true collections that occur in the first 60 days. So worst case scenario, all right? We just did a billing, Joan, all right? Money just came flying in, okay? So we're gonna be, you know, we need to do another billing, right? We did one in May. We didn't do one on June 16th. We did a delinquent. Oh, that's right. I put some stuffers in there. Okay, so we did that. All right. So they all have some kind of notice and know that we need them to pay by the end of the year. Then their name's going to be in the book. I'm sorry. That's right. I did it on the. That's what Leslie stuffed. It was 18th or 19th of June, or must have been last Friday that we did it. Yeah, or Wednesday. So they all have their letters. All right, but I'm just telling you, if the money doesn't come in, worst case scenario. Worst case scenario.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario, if we have as of 4:40 today, you got any money in your drawer?
No, I went to the bank.
Okay.
4:30.
As of 4:40 today, delinquent taxes 2010 and the three accounts from 2008-9 is $76,888. If we collect nothing between now and August 30th, that's an increase of $60,000 in our deferred revenue. Now, I don't think we're going to see that. You know, I think that a lot of people take because they don't want their name in the book, and you know they.
What actually happens if you get that money in October? I mean, the money actually comes into the city.
Yeah, we have
It
it.
sits somewhere, but you can't spend it?
Sure, yeah, it's okay,
Oh,
yeah. It's okay, we just can't use it as a fund balance. It's just not counted, cause we aren't on a cash basis of accounting, where,
Right.
you know, it's not about, I think the state is on a cash basis of accounting, right? You know,
Yeah.
so it's like what, you know, whatever's in the checking account, we used to be on the cash base of accounting, all right? I mean, we
Much
you know,
simpler.
I'd make John run down the bank at, you know, 429 to get that last deposit in there, okay? So under the modified accrual base of accounting, you do get to count your receivables, all right? However, you can only count 60 days worth, as if you had it in your hand on June 30. And if you
On June
didn't.
30th.
On June 30th.
Okay. So that money would be coming in, if it comes in after the 2-month period of time.
Yeah, it's good,
money in
it's
new-
cash flow, but it
it's
didn't
new
do it,
year.
it was too late to positively affect our fund balance.
Okay.
So Mel, just so I get this right in my head, if the worst case scenario, what's that do to our $154,000 balance?
Makes it 90.
It makes it 94. And I need 103,000. Okay, but, you know, I mean, that's worst case scenario, all right? So, you know, let me tell you one other thing, that I might as well tell you this. Remember I won this EGL appeal, all right, and it was worth $23,000 and some change? It actually was worth $24,000 and some change. They ran the calculations wrong. I knew it was wrong, and they even found the error. We went to our software people to see if we could include a negative tax rate on our bill, all right? And I don't want to say that we can't, but they didn't know the answer to that question. They actually thought that we were crazy, first off, saying this is unheard of, you know, a negative tax rate on the bill. And I explained to them, I said, the problem is that what happened is in 2009, people were overtaxed, all right? Because their education was overtaxed, all right? So I want to give it back to the people. Now, obviously, if somebody sold their house in 2009, the 2010 owner is going to get the discount, okay? Now, so the best that I could think of to get it back to those people is to create a negative tax rate. The problem is that because this was an overtax of education dollars, you'd think that, well, why don't we just adjust the education rate? Well, we can't adjust the education rate because the education rate is set by the tax department. So it's kind of I don't know that the state ever really thought about the fact that when you appeal a CLA and it takes 2 years to settle and the state owes you some money, they don't have a mechanism to get it back. And we're not gonna write 927 checks, believe me, okay? And go find those people that sold their house in 2009. So the point is since we can't put a negative tax rate, the only thing that we can do is just throw it in the till. All right, we don't know what it's gonna get here, Joan. It's either gonna get, you know, it may get here by the end of June, it may not, all right? But it's gonna get here. So the point is, the 154,000, just to make everybody feel a little better, all right, is that right out of the gate, you're gonna get this $24,000, you know, cushion, all right? So that helps, it changes that worst case scenario. If my 154 is solid, that changes that 154 to 178, okay? And then you take worst case scenario, you know, we're okay. But we haven't talked about a possible wage adjustment against any of those numbers.
So the money that comes in after the 60 days are over and you can't use it for,
Doesn't count.
doesn't count. So you can't even use it for the next year or what, the money that
It's
bills
all
we pay?
it's all where you land 60 days into the fiscal
Really?
year, all right? If you don't collect it within 60 days, yeah, we collect it and we throw it in the till when you use it, but it doesn't get measured again until
the
60
following year.
days into the following year.
Okay, so it does eventually, the next year will get measured. All right.
Any other questions?
So to answer, I don't know if we were at the 2 and 3% yet, but my question on that is where would that money come from? And basically, that would be the fund balance, because we've got a balanced budget right now.
Yeah.
It would have to come from the fund balance.
Correct. Like, in the budget that we're currently in, all right,
Okay.
we had $229,000 of a fund balance, and we used $125,000 of that fund balance to, as a part of the budget, to in essence augment taxes to pay the expenses. Basically, if, let's say that you were to go to this 3%, added to the 103 that I was talking about earlier, you're approaching that same number of 125.
Yep.
But the problem is that I think it was pretty easy for you to use 125 of 229.
Right.
Okay, it's not as easy to use 125 of 154 with the potential increase in delinquent taxes. All right, it might be easier if we take into account this other 24,000. All right, I'm not going to get you to feel as good as 125 out of 229. I'm not going to fool you here. All right. I mean, that was really an amazing year. All right. So as I mentioned at the last budget work session, if you go to the 2 or the 3, I'm going to tell you that we can afford it. It's not like you've got some red ink tax rate. You don't have that. I don't see that under, I don't see the worst case scenario happening. All right. But I also don't see the best case scenario either. I don't see no delinquent taxes on August 30th. I can tell you that.
But the rest of you guys may be able to tell me, but my
Feel free.
the first few months that I've been on here, I'm getting the feeling that you're a magician with money, and you can make this work come heck or high water.
I can
Kind
make
of
this
sort of thing. I mean, I'm kind of feeling really positive about the possibility of being able to make these numbers work without putting us under the table.
I won't let you. I
What we
won't sit here and
do-
let you
What
have
we
a
do
negative.
today just affects next
It really
year's
does. It does.
balance.
Yeah.
That's all it does. Yes, there is some wiggle room there, and so either we go into with a
Okay.
54,000, or maybe we go in with 25. So, and those aren't Mel's numbers, those are
Okay.
just arbitrary numbers.
And also, Peter, that's why I brought up the fact at the last budget work session that, if we really don't want to see our property tax rate go up, and we want to keep our infrastructure in place, we need to look at a different revenue source. And the only revenue source that I am aware of is for Vergennes to consider and possibly adopt a local option tax. And I don't have any idea what that means, whether or not it means $30,000, $130,000, or $230,000. I have no idea. I haven't researched it, but I can tell you that if this city council does not want the municipal rate to go above 60.07 cents, and it wants to make sure that the services that we're providing are continuing to be provided, and we're not going to go backwards with our infrastructure, we've got to find another revenue source. And I don't make any bones about this, Peter. I see it. I can't. Yeah, I may be a magician.
To a certain point.
That's right.
I do feel that our infrastructure is of concern, not dangerously, but it is getting of concern. And at some point, there will be a tax increase. There'll have to be.
Or a different tax, or
Or a different tax.
some revenue source.
And I think what Mel is talking about, I think really we need to talk to the partnership and the merchants to get buy-in if we go that way. Because they've got to be part of this. I think, yes, most every town is doing it. It would be nice if we didn't, and hopefully that would just bring more people here, but that's not a guarantee. So This year's gonna be kind of a rough year because, the water and people coming in to the dock and spending money, it's gonna be a little harder. So there's a lot of different things that are impacting, so however we can get creative to get more people into the city, and spend more money, that's what we gotta try to do.
Speaking of the docks, I know we're trying to get them ready, but will those docks, I know they probably can take care of the smaller boat, but will they be able to handle that big boat that wants the, what is it?
the same thought.
You know?
He's gonna have to, park where he can tie to those big cleats, cause he doesn't tie to the dock, he just bumpers off that dock. His main, lines are tied to the steel.
The steel, yeah.
So, it's not the stress on the dock, other than the wave action a little bit. It'll probably work him a little bit more with the water up with a stronger current.
I think what Zig's wondering about, and I don't know the answer to this, is that Mike is correct, that boat does not tie up to the floating docks. However, they do bump up against the floating docks, and the question, I think what your question is that if the floating docks weren't there,
Right.
can that boat be close enough to the steel dock? Because there's no floating dock acting as a bumper in there, and I would think it'd be okay.
He would be okay, cause he'd set his bumper heights. With the water depth the way it is right now, there's no problem with him hitting bottom.
Yeah.
But as you know, in the latter part of the summer, he has to be out in the channel a little bit more, the width of the dock, and they're fine. So,
And how's that affecting the other boats that are coming in? They,
other than a lot of trees and wood floating down the river,
alright,
there, you know, it's not, I haven't been down, I don't know if there's any with this, if it's actually flopped any trees over into the river by washing the bank out and then falling in, I don't know. I know there was some concerns last year and somehow some magically disappeared.
Yeah.
That was a nice thing. You
you
have
know,
to
there's a lot
involve,
out the mouth of the river, they're
you have
coming
to
in all over
involve
the place.
Army Corps of Engineering anytime you're doing anything with banks. So, but some trees disappeared last year somehow, I don't know how, don't really care. So, let's move right on to the wage adjustment. Are you ready for that, Randy?
Yeah, let's make a motion to discuss the differences between 3% and 2%.
Okay, all right, well, we don't have to have a motion to discuss it.
All right, I make a motion that we use 3% as our factor in raising the employees' rates.
And I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that it be a 3% increase. Go ahead, Randy, I'll let you.
I'm gonna say my piece. This year, the people for Public Works, the people in the office have worked their butts off, short-staffed, and they do deserve it, even though, you know, times are tight. We are dipping into our reserves, but I think it's necessary. We have a good staff here. I'd like to keep the staff here.
So is your proposal 3% across the board?
Well, up to 3%, it's a sliding scale.
That's what I was gonna,
That was the next
that's a
question.
clarification.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because last year we used,
We use Mel's discretion.
yes.
Well, what it is typically what it is the budget affords up to a 3%. You know, the way the process works, you all set you set my salary, you set Joan's salary, I set everybody else's salary up to the limit, up to not exceeding the budget, all right? That's how it works, all right? And if I needed to pay beyond the budget, you know, I feel I would need to come to you. So, you know, I mean, typically when you make this motion, it's really about the budget, adjusting the budget so that wages that I establish, not that you establish, can be adjusted up to 3%. And then I just do the budget. So it's like you're not setting my employees' salaries. What you're doing is you're setting a budget limitation, and I end up
Give you the money to work with and.
correct
limit. Okay.
up to the limits of that budget. But employees can't. But employees can't get more than 3%.
he kind of modified his,
And I will.
and you agree with it? I just wanna make sure we're on the same.
Sorry, I just got
No.
anxious to get it going.
Yep,
Okay.
Peter.
Let me just play with this just a little bit. Okay, so if we wanted to do something like grant a 2% across the board to every employee, period, and give you 1% up to 3% to tinker with that, that's not the way things have been done.
That's correct, yeah.
correct.
Is there,
Because it's very possible, you know, and I'm not suggesting that this could happen, but, you know, legally, I set my employees' staff, my employees' wages, all right? By law, I set compensation, all right? So the point is that if this board was to adopt a 2% increase for every employee, all right? You're basically you're adjusting somebody's compensation without my approval. And it's very possible that I may have an employee that I don't want to give any increase to at all, all right? And so, I mean, legally, I set the compensation, under the law, that's the way it is. I mean, I know it may seem a little funny, but that's what it is. I have the authority to set compensation.
okay. In the setting of that compensation, do you have criteria that you use? I mean, obviously you do.
Yeah, well, I mean, each department handles things differently. I mean, it's not, you know, when I say I set everybody's compensation, you know, it certainly is not without department head input.
No, sure.
Okay, so,
Okay, the thing, and this really doesn't have anything to do with you or the city because I just don't have any information.
Yep.
What that does in other places that I'm familiar with is it creates this potential for complaints of favoritism.
Yep.
Because there's not a definitive, the person who sucks, you know what I mean? The person who's very close to the boss.
Yep.
And gets the raise versus the person who may be doing just as good work, et cetera. You know?
Yep.
The complaints of favoritism, and so some sort of standard, and that's actually probably what we're talking about with this salary committee.
right,
Of something of that nature of working at some sort of framework within which you work.
yeah,
To set those standards.
The main thing that I would like you to focus on is, are the Mel's, the Jones, the chief for the
Yeah.
police department, fire department, whoever, are their salaries fair and equitable with the marketplace?
No, I understood that,
If- but-
yeah.
Yeah, but if you wanna take that a step further, and we're very much open, but
see.
I would ask that you definitely,
Oh, no,
you know,
of course.
Mel get involved with that,
Okay.
because then it becomes into a personnel policy. And-
Okay, so in terms of this, our only role, based upon what the law says about, our only role is to set the
budget,
budget, the amounts, to give you the amount to play with.
right,
Okay, and then to set you guys.
correct,
So,
right, because we don't set our own.
And what I like to do is, I like to get the input from the three of you, once the rate is set, what you feel the Mel and the Jones should get for a percentage. And I
Once
But-
this,
once we've set the rate here,
yeah, okay.
okay? So, Randy?
We did, back when Randy was here, we did come up with a review process or a self-review process. So there is something established. I don't know if you've used it now.
I don't think it's, you know, it may have been used, I don't know, it hasn't been used.
Yeah, and typically reviews are done off increase sides. Normally, the increase happens before the review, and then you get reviewed to set your goals, and then your increase. Just because you're getting a review doesn't necessarily mean you're getting an increase. But there was a policy there,
Right,
I remember that.
Okay.
yeah.
because you and I,
Yeah, we were.
Well, I can tell you that George is certainly in the process of setting a much more formalized review process for his employees. You know, Jimmy is new, and, you know, we haven't spent much time talking about that. So, you know, we certainly, you know, I can assure you that in George's case, you know, that's gonna be a much more formal process for his staff.
Okay, thanks for answering those questions, and to speak specifically to the motion, I'm 100% in favor
Yeah.
of 3%.
Any other comments, questions? move to the motion of granting up to a 3% increase for employees of the city of Vergennes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. And I will look for each of your input via email back to me. I've already got yours.
So Mike, the other, relative to the city budget, what we could use, unless you were planning on meeting again, would be for the council to authorize me to modify this budget incorporating the wage adjustments and the other adjustments, the other two adjustments that we did during the work sessions, and to establish the city rate at .6007.
I will make said motion.
Second.
A motion by Lowell, seconded by Ziggy. Open for discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
And the other one thing, we never know if whether or not the council is supposed to take action on this or not, but I can tell you that obviously the education rates, homestead and non-residential, those are set by the tax department. Those are sent down to Joan. The other thing that, you know, that Joan and I have to do, and it's like I say, the city the charter says that the city council sets the tax rate. The charter doesn't say anything about this so-called local rate, but there's this other little rate in there that covers the VA exemptions and covers the tax exemption for the Vergennes Masonic Association, and it is absolutely driven by education tax rates. So, you know, Joan and I don't want to be doing things wrong, but I really don't think that the city council is in control of that rate. All it is a math problem,
Right.
Okay? And you can't do the math until we get the rates, okay? So I will tell you that the local rate, which is currently .0025,
Right.
will be something like that. You know, I think that it might be a little bit lower because I think that our education rates are going down a little bit.
Yeah.
So that .0025 might turn into .0024 or .0023, something like that. And we didn't get the education rates until June 28th last year, so,
That'll come from,
tax department.
oh, that comes
Not, it
directly.
doesn't come from the superintendent's office, it comes from the tax department.
Okay.
And so by this motion, if it passes, you know, Joan will be set to do bills and start folding.
All right, before we adjourn, I'd like to say a special thanks to Dave and Lynn LeClaire for doing our gardens around the entrances and on the park. They've got most of the plants that they put in there out of their own garden, so there would be very little expense to the city, and I think the only thing they purchased was like a couple bags of mulch or something like that.
Those
And
are
I take it,
the tan truck that stops, they have a tan truck.
Yeah, they've been going to all of the welcome to
Yep.
Vergennes signs, is where you see them, you know, parked on the side of the road, and, I mean, it's great.
Probably better if you want, let them know they can park on my lawn because it's a little hairy down through there when
Yeah.
I stop there and
Yeah.
they're getting out and pulling this and that. Twice I was mowing and I couldn't get a chance to get off and tell them, but they're more than welcome. to
Yeah, they live
park there.
across from Mike,
yeah,
so.
full of
Mike
weeds,
can-
and they have, matter of fact, Lynn had commented, she says, you know, I've never gotten involved with the city or volunteering. She used to be a nurse, but she says, this is fun. So she's having fun with it, and we'll see. We even talked about going and buying some plants, and she didn't want to spend people's money. She thought she could take a lot of stuff out of her garden and thin it out a little bit. She's done a great job, so thanks. The groundbreaking ceremonies, Monday, hopefully as many can make it as possible. You get a copy in your packet, so, you know, it's not mandatory, it's voluntary. If you can make it,
Do you
please
have to
do.
call them or you just show up?
There's a email address on there to
And a phone
RSVP and a phone number, so by all means, if you're gonna be there, just let them know. So, without further ado, Lowell.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Lowell made the motion, Randy seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?